Ayla. Thank you so much for being here today. It's very nice to have you.
Hey, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
I know it's end of the season for you, so thank you so much for making time. And I'm doing this project with a lot of how to say excitement because I want people to get to know the inside of tennis world, and you will be the first women's tennis player in this project. So I'm very excited.
Oh, cool. Amazing.
So, how are you? How was the season?
I'm good. Well, I still have one more tournament in Guadalajara and then Fed Cup for the end of the year. But I finally have a few days at home after a long time, so it's just been really nice. But in a weird way, I mean, I'm already ready to go back on the road, even though it's been only 2 days. So yeah, I'm actually considering it's the end of the year. I'm feeling all right.
Okay, so I have made a mistake there because I thought unfortunately you had an injury on the last tournament, and I just thought maybe you will not play anymore. So good luck for the next tournament.
Oh yeah, yeah. Thank you.
So okay, I would like to start with giving some highlights from your career. So you were born 1993 in Croatia, Zagreb, which is a lovely city. And then you started playing tennis at 6 years old, and then you moved to Florida when you were 13. Was that because of tennis?
Yeah, that was 100% because of tennis. When I was younger, I was spending a lot of time in the States because I had family here. So it was first to, go hang out with my cousins during summer, but I was always playing. So I would always go to these academies in the States. And back home in Croatia, we never had this system. It was always you had your coach and that's it. There wasn't really like an academy where you can go and your whole day is about tennis. And
Mhm.
I was begging my parents from a really young age that I really want to move here and just spend my days in the academy. And when I was 13, my dad and my mom they made it happen for me. And I guess maybe from that point moving on is where there was a little bit more of a difference in my career where it was like, okay, I'm really going to do this for real because
Mhm.
I went to online school then and my whole day was about tennis. So it was a big move for my parents, but also was what I wanted.
Yeah, and they were also your dad is a handball was a handball professional handball player, right? That's
Yeah.
what I saw online. Yeah. And okay, I'll keep going from the highlights. So you were number four as a junior, and then you made a fast transition from junior to WTA Tour. You were already 150 when you were 17, and then you have been in top 100 for many years after that. You had a shoulder injury when it was 2016, so you were coming back from injury for those 2 years. But beside that, you were always in top 100 and you had a very consistent career. And this year, I believe it's the best results year for you. As
Yes. Yeah.
yeah, you played quarterfinal in Wimbledon for the second time, and you played quarterfinal in US Open, which was very exciting to see. Since we have agreed this Zoom meeting, and I was just following your results, and I was very excited to talk about it. So yeah, these are my notes, and I would like to just go back to the your parents' background. So they were your parents. Did your mom played as well, or was it just?
Actually, my mom was a tennis player in the family. So
Yeah.
she had a sister and they both played. My aunt went to college in the States and my mom stopped when she was maybe like early 20s.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then when she met my dad was loved sports and he fell in love with tennis. So when they started dating, my dad would always ask my mom to play, and that's how my dad actually fell in love with the sport through my mom.
Wow, that's nice. And he's always traveling with you, as I saw on the tour. So I wanted to start with a question. How does it feel to have someone from your family by your side? Because it's a very tough life. You're always on the tour, always in different countries. And to have someone you know, I guess it's a big gift, let's say.
Yeah, I would say when I was younger, I didn't really see it like a big gift, because when you're younger, I guess you're not seeing the whole picture. And now at 29, I feel really lucky that I have had my dad and a lot of times my mom as well by my side. And my dad has played different roles in my career. From he's always been my fitness coach, and at certain times also my tennis coach when some coaches would leave or we would stop. And when I was in the transition of finding someone new, he would step in. But we never really pushed that role with us, because it's very tough with
Yeah.
parents and daughters in the coaching situation. And my dad, I think, was very smart there, where he knew it was hard and always wanted to keep that distance. But now I feel, yeah, like I said, just lucky, because it's so lonely on the tour, and nobody knows me better than my dad in a lot of situations. No matter how much time you spend with your coach, my dad can look at me and know what I'm feeling. And that's a big gift, because sometimes I'm not a great communicator with my coaches. So to have my dad there all the time, just being there.
Can we say that for most of the WTA players? The communication between coaches and the girls.
Yes, I mean, for me, in a lot of areas in my life, I'm bad at communicating, but yeah, the communication part is not always easy. And so he's always like the little middleman in my career, where sometimes he can see like my coach and I are kind of saying the same thing, but we're not getting each other, and then he helps. And so my dad plays a lot of roles in my career, but the most important one is definitely just being my dad.
Yeah. Well, that's a good note for people who will watch us, because like you said, your dad was a smart, like you said, because many parents doesn't know much about sport or tennis, and they just want to get involved, and they think it will help their child. But the best one is probably to find the right people for your kids, I believe.
Yeah.
So you have mentioned in the beginning a little bit about your moving to Florida. So could you tell me about that journey a little bit more specifically? You were Croatian, you were born in Croatia, then you moved to States, but now you're an Australian citizen as well, since 2014? No, later?
Since 2000. I'm so bad with this, but so I've been playing for Australia in the slams for about 5-6 years already.
Okay.
But I got my passport a little bit later.
Mm-hmm.
So this happened, I started the process when I was like maybe 21 or 20.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of a situation where I have some family background from Australia, and I've always loved the country and playing there. And Australia was also really welcoming of me every time I was there. And there was just, an opportunity for me to play for Australia. And it made me so happy to even think about it. And the fact that they welcomed me like that was something I was just so excited about, and makes me happy to represent them as a country, playing tennis all over the world.
Yeah. So was it difficult for you to like change countries during your tennis career, or was it easy to do?
You mean like as my personal decision?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It was really easy because it's something I really wanted to do. I think if it was harder, then maybe that would take that as a sign it's not the right decision. But I whenever I thought about it, it got me excited. And yeah, I never once like had a moment like, oh, am I making a mistake? And I think that was good. So it means it was the right one.
Yeah. And if you compare to Croatian Croatia's situation now compared to back then, like is there, do they have a better system? Because I did a Zoom meeting with Dario Novak, and he has mentioned a lot about the Croatian coaches and athletes. So maybe is it better system now than before? I'm asking this question because in Turkey it's same at the moment. We don't have academies that we can develop worldwide athletes. Everybody's trying to kind of make their own way by being sometimes here, by sometimes being in Europe. So that's why I'm a bit curious if Croatia has a system now.
No, unfortunately, I think it got even worse because we had this really nice center that had 9 indoor courts, and I mean, you know,
Yeah.
in winter, Croatia needs indoors, and it was completely destroyed because the city like didn't want to fund it anymore. So there's really, it's a little bit sad to see, you know. I don't see many girls playing, like young kids, and yeah, it's not great because we have so many great players coming from Croatia, and unfortunately, I think to really make it, a lot of times they're looking to go to different places for training and stuff because it's not so easy unless, and you know, I mean, tennis is a very expensive sport, so if you don't have the support of someone, it's not easy. So but just the facilities itself, we don't have something really like where you see a lot of kids and players developing, which is I
Hmm.
think a little bit sad.
Yeah, yeah, I understand. So I would like to jump to the tour positives and negatives. Being on tour, I know it's very difficult, and since I have stopped now due to my injuries, and now I have more local life, I realize how active I was during all these years, and how we could adapt everything, you know, like the hotels, the city, the weather, and flights, everything. So could you tell me from your point of view, what are the most negative parts that you don't like about being on tour?
Oh, well, I would say just being away from my family, my sister mostly, because my parents, you know, travel quite a bit. My sister works a normal job, so it's funny because I will call her and be like, "Hey, come here," and she's like, "Oh, I need to ask my boss. I have 4 weeks of vacation in one year." And when you're in this world of tennis, you forget that it's a bubble. It's not the real world, and then when you are you want to see some of your friends or something and they're in the real world, it's you understand that it doesn't work the same way. um uh but another thing is I think relationships are not so easy. Even friendships, personal relationships, it's just harder to maintain when you don't see each other a lot.
Mhm.
um but at the same time, you know, I like anything in life, there's good things, bad things. So I never sit here and I'm like, oh, this really bothers me. I don't have this. But when I'm talking like with my family or something about things that bother me with this life, these two things always kind of come up because, like, for example, my best friend is getting married in one week and I don't know if I'm going to be there, you know? And things like this you sometimes miss that you would love to be a part of, and they're big parts of your friends' lives. And yeah, it's just the tennis sometimes always takes priority.
And this is like this for many years, right? This has been like,
Yeah, and not just many years, it's like the very important, I think, parts of your life, you know. Like your 20s and part of your 30s, hopefully, if you're healthy enough to play and if you still like it. But yeah, it's just at the end of the day, for me, the pros outweigh the cons, and I love this life. But yeah, it's definitely, as a woman, it's a little bit harder for these things, I think.
why would you say for as a woman?
Because I can see a lot of times, like, for example, men in tennis, I mean, you see them all of a sudden with a kid, and you know, it's like for them it doesn't change anything. Like they can take their wives, their girlfriends everywhere, and have a start a family at any point. And of course it changes a little bit for them, but not enough where they have to, you know, carry a child 9 months and then come back if they want to
Yeah.
come back. There's certain sacrifices we have to do, and you just don't see as many girls, for example, travel with their boyfriends as much as you see the men.
Mhm.
And it's just like that a little bit in society. So in that case, I think it's just a little tougher for women.
Mhm. And my next question was the friendships on tour, because basically we are all rivals when we go to a tournament. But I see you have a good friendships on tour. Like maybe I don't know, not a lot, but I see you're getting a lot along with few players. So how do you make the friendship? Does it work on tour? Because many players say there is no friendship on tour, but you see so many people for same weeks, like almost all year. So how does it work for you?
Oh, for me, I mean, now when I'm a little bit more mature, I've managed to find a few girls that are really my friends beyond tennis, where, I mean, if something happens, I know I can lean on them, and I don't see them so much as competitors.
Mhm.
Obviously, if we play each other, I'm gonna do my best to win, but as soon as it finishes, I'm able to kind of switch off, and because I respect that person and I don't see it, and it has to be mutual. Like, I have to
Yeah.
feel it from her as well. And then other girls I'm friendly with, but maybe we just don't click on a level where we are so close. But
Mhm.
it's, for me, honestly, like, I see this as, I see life as something so much bigger than tennis, that um as long as off the court, we I'm sorry, I meant, like, after the match, we do whatever we can to win. But as long as there's respect, I mean, there's no reason why we cannot just all get along. Of course, there are certain players you just don't get along with because maybe they're not your type of person.
Yeah.
It's not easy. Like, you don't have anyway many friends in life that are really like your people you can get along with. But there's really no need, like, for this, I think, way of looking that girls are all enemies, because I can tell you, I mean, I I don't think I have many girls I don't talk to on tour. I think when you're a little bit older, you see it a little bit more, like, bigger than that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I remember there were some girls that you practice with them like the same day, and then a few hours later they don't even say hi, or the next day they don't even say hi. But it's like
Yeah,
there are so many different characters, and it's impossible to get along. But I
it
remember
is. Yeah.
there were some times I said, okay, I wish it was a bit easier to communicate. So yeah. So I my next question was about your career. Like, you have been number four in the world as a junior, and then you've been very constantly in top. Was it the right word? You were very
'Cause,
consistent about being in top
yeah.
100. Yeah. And right now you have your highest ranking. And for last 2 years you were in for quarterfinal in two Grand Slams. So how do you feel as a first as a person and after as a player? Where do you see yourself now?
Right in this moment, I'm really happy kind of where I am as a person, because I would say maybe not this year, the year before, and just ever since COVID started, I wasn't feeling so good about just my life.
Mhm.
As a tennis player and as a person, I don't know, it's really a little bit complicated to get really into the reasons, but I was just really unhappy because I didn't know really what was making me unhappy at the time. And then I questioned a lot of things, like, does tennis still make me happy? Do I still want to do this? And I always remembered the fact that, I mean, you don't know me when I was a kid, but I loved tennis. It was really my biggest passion, and all I wanted to do was just play. And that got lost a little bit during COVID. And I'm just really happy that from maybe this year, I really worked on myself just to be a happier person in general. And I can't tell you, like, sometimes people ask me, like, oh, what is different now? And it's like, I don't know why things clicked. I just worked on little things about my life that sometimes weren't even connected so much to tennis, but just to my overall happiness. And obviously, I worked hard, which I always did, but
Mhm.
it started to fall into place just because I wanted to simplify my life, where I'm just doing things that make me happy. And that's where I like, now I feel calm and confident in a way that I before wasn't, just because I would, yeah, it's really hard to sometimes explain it, but I just feel like I'm more in control of my life right now.
Yeah, I think I get you because first of all, I think people forget we are we get into this job as a kid, and then as a teenager, and as a woman, and then you have your career there, but you have also your personality and your own fights with yourself, with life, trying to figure out what is right, what is wrong, and you're trying to play tennis beside that. And sometimes, I mean, what I see from also what I saw from myself and also some other players, we get to a level that we get more mature as a person, and then our mind is a bit more clear, and then we can just do what we have to do. But till we come to that point, it's like always fighting with between playing tennis and doing the life. Doing the life, is it correct?
Yeah, like just figuring out life in a way.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's important because there will be, I think, many young girls or boys, and I'm sure they're all. I mean, I'm talking with many players which are very young, and they're always asking me questions about life, and they don't know if they want to play, and they're like 10 years old now, and they have such a long journey ahead of them. So I think it would be very useful for them that it's okay to struggle and try to find a way.
Yeah, sure.
So as the last few questions, I wanted to ask about what are your like short-term plans now? Like I know it's a long season ahead again, but before you have Fed Cup and then off season, I believe. So what are your short-term goals till end of the year and also maybe for the next year?
Well, for the short term, I would say just to get really fit before 2023. My body has, knock on wood, has been pretty good this year, and I would just like to finish the season healthy and then just get really good training in where I'm starting the next year feeling strong and just ready to go, because I think it's really important for me as a player, the type of player I am. I need to feel physically good to be in a good mental space, and I know I feel good going in when I know I've put in the work. So and I like to sometimes, I mean, the January month is really important to me, and it's the slam where I always gone in feeling good but never really had the results I wanted. And I just want to go into this one because we can't control how we do, right? Like I would love to know if I'm going to do well in January, but I just want to take care of all the little things that maybe in the past I haven't, like, mentally relaxing myself as much as I can, because sometimes I put too much pressure on the whole result in Australia, and I can feel it affects me. So I just want to give myself a better shot this year at reaching my goal. Yeah.
No,
and then obviously, for the rest of the year, just, moments like Wimbledon and US Open remind me of why I started playing. And I just want to have more of those moments in my next year, because they're the ones that I guess get me the most happy, when you feel that rush. And it doesn't last long, like it's like 10 minutes, not even. I mean, I remember like I finished US Open, and the next day I was having coffee with my dad, and I was like, this is it, like it's over, like the moment, the feeling, it's gone, like. And he's like, yeah, that's why you have to really enjoy it in the moment. And it's true. So I just want to keep chasing that.
Yeah. Well, it's great. I hope next year will be good for you. But I completely agree with the thing you said. Like, even if, let's say, you win the Grand Slam, and okay, you do the interviews, and it only maybe lasts 1 week, and then again you keep going. You have to work for the next slam, so it's never ending work. So yeah. So I would like to ask the last question. You have shared very personal questions with personal answers with me, so which is very we will be very helpful. So thank you for that. So my last question will be, you have been through a lot of tough times. So what are your motivations in these tough times? Like what do you do when you have a tough time, very big disappointment? How do you handle it?
Oof, whenever I look at my toughest moments in my career and my life, I always connect it to my family. I don't know. They're my biggest kind of rocks when things are going tough, and they're the ones that help me the most, because with them I can always share my fears, my sadness, because not many people in your life are going to be there. And those are, I mean, my mom, my dad, and my sister. And I'm very lucky to have really close relationship with my cousins and my aunt. And, it's a lot of people that I can lean on. And without them, I can tell you so many moments I'm not saying I wouldn't get through, but maybe it would take longer and it would be harder. And for that, I feel very lucky because I look around and not many people have that sort of system of support. So when I look at my life and if something's bothering me, I always just look inside of my house what I have, and I feel lucky and happy. And that took a lot of also maturing for me to do, where maybe when I was 20, I took it for granted, like, okay, of course my mom is always here, you know. But that would be my biggest thing that gets me through times when they're tough. And of course, on top of that, just my own, like, I think my nature is that I'm a fighter. I don't like to give up, even when sometimes we all lose. So that thing in me is something that never goes away. But I also have my family to always remind me that. So it's like they just help me all the time. So that would be it.
Wow. Okay. Well, it was very let's say sincere conversation. Is it correct? Like, was it?
Yeah.
You gave very honest and very personal answers, which I'm not used to that in the tennis world. So thank you so much for being in the project, for being a great person and an athlete. So I wish you the best for the next season and till you finish this season. Yeah.
Thank you. It's really cool what you're doing. So I think the only way your project works is if we as players are honest, because you can go on YouTube and find a lot of fake interviews. So hopefully, and it's easier to open up with someone, you know, you played and I've seen you a lot around. So it's like we're talking over a coffee. So yeah, it's hopefully you get more interviews where there's more insight into what we do without being politically correct.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, Ajla, thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.